Det var en uppspelt Jean-Claude Juncker som hälsade deltagarna i toppmötet i Riga förra veckan välkomna. Först fick EU-kommissionären Cecilia Malmström en liten tillrättavisning. Sen var det dags för statsminister Stefan Löfven att få en örfil. Och på den vägen fortsätter det. Sen skulle slipsarna hjälpas. Och Ungerns premiärminister Viktor Orbán kallade Juncker helt enkelt för diktatorn. Och det franska tv-programmet Le Petit Journal sammanfattade mottagningen så här på 20 sekunder.
Le dictateur arrive, dit-il, et le voici. Bam!
Well, hi everyone. Welcome to class. And I was showing before we started the class of, let me see, what do I want to close here? I don't think I need to have some of these things open, but may I just make sure I won't open them up. I was showing some video clips of Jean-Claude Juncker, and Jean-Claude Juncker was the predecessor of the current president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. And I want to open that up, and maybe I need to close some things first. Just a second here. Let me close some files because I think I have too many things open here. So we close that, and let me close that one too right now. We don't really need that right now. And move that out of the way. Close that, and make sure that go here, and then share. Let me see. Close that, and then go back to share screen and see what I can find here. Okay, here's I think is the lesson plan for today, and so that was Jean-Claude Juncker, who was the predecessor of the current president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the debate topic for this week, of course, is to South Koreans. The president of the European Commission should be elected by the EU citizens, and so we'll have a debate on that topic. And again, let me make sure I open up the notes for this week, and so that we cover them, because we're covering all of the institutions, at least formally, in this week's reading. And so we want to make sure that we make a substantial progress on that. So here we go, share. And so there you see the European Commission, of which, of course, Ursula von der Leyen is now the president, and Jean-Claude Juncker, the former prime minister and finance minister of Luxembourg, was the finance minister. And if I jump through these notes, let's see if I can get to the, yes, the Spitzenkandidatin. So that's a German phrase, Spitzenkandidatin, and the selection of the European president. Jean-Claude Juncker was president of the European Commission for two terms, for 10 years. And he had been selected in a system by which the European Parliament pressured the Council of Europe. No, sorry. The European Parliament pressured the European Council. The Council of Europe is something else. The European Council, which is the meeting of the heads of government and the heads of state of the European Union member states. So the prime ministers and presidents who come together, the most powerful body in the European Union. And according to the treaties of the European Union, the European Council, as we covered last class, right? The European Council nominates or selects the president of the European Commission, and then the European Parliament, over the most recent treaty years, got the authority to confirm the entire proposed European Commission. So all 27 members of the European Commission are voted up or down by the European Parliament. And after the European Council nominates and chooses all of the candidates for all of the European Commission. And that now, of course, is 27 members of the European Commission, because there's 27 member states. And one of those members of the European Commission is the president of the European Commission. And the European Parliament is attempting to appeal to a broader group of the European citizens, the European citizenry, to support and alike the European Union and the European Parliament, as the European Parliament being the only directly elected body of the European Union, right? I mean, the Germans, the Italians, the French all vote to send their representatives to the European Parliament directly, and the European Parliament is supposed to be an equal body in the European Union with the Council of Ministers in making European Union law. So the European Parliament and the European Union institutions in general are always seeking to make the European Union more appealing, to make it appear more positive to the people of Europe, particularly as they're competing for political influence with the European skeptic parties and the political far-right parties that are hostile to the European Union and see it as a threat to, and portray the European Union as a threat to the well-being of the people of France and Italy and Germany. So the European Parliament proposed that unofficially, without any change in the European Union treaties, that the European Council should formally nominate to be president of the European Commission the candidates. They should choose two candidates from which the European Parliament picks. And the European Parliament is going to favor, of course, those political groups that dominate the European Parliament. So Jean-Claude Juncker was nominated by, unofficially by the European Parliament to be president of the European Commission because he represented the right of center groups in the right of center groups in the European Parliament, which were a majority of the members of the European Parliament. And the European Council thought that was a good idea. And they nominated Jean-Claude Juncker, and of course, the European Commission under Jean-Claude Juncker was approved. Now, there was opposition to this Spitzenkandidaten procedure, and that's a German term, it's not an English term. There was opposition from the British government, and the British government at the time was under David Cameron. David Cameron was the leader of the Conservative Party, and he was the leader of I'm getting a commercial phone call here, which I'm trying to shut down so that it doesn't bother me anymore. Okay, the European Council was in favor of it, but David Cameron of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, was opposed to Jean-Claude Juncker. They didn't want Jean-Claude Juncker to be president of the European Commission, and they had their reasons. And there's always been gossip that Jean-Claude Juncker is a successful, effective politician in Luxembourg, which is a population of 400,000 people. And he's liked and admired by other politicians. He's not considered a threat, but that he likes to drink too much. He likes his alcohol too much. That was gossip. But the other members of the European Council overrode the objections of David Cameron of the British government, the Prime Minister of the British government, and forced or overrode the wishes of the British government. And remember, consensus is the driving principle of the European Union. It's very rare that the European Union will force a minority of the members, not force physically by military force, but will override and vote and defeat an actor who is strongly opposed, a member state that is strongly opposed to some move or proposal or policy before the European Union. But here you see the European Council did it anyway in selecting what maybe is the most important figure in the European Union, the president of the European Commission. Even though David Cameron and I'm sure other members of the European Union were not really in favor of Jean-Claude Juncker, but they did it anyway. And again, because they're always trying to appeal to the peoples of Europe to please support the European Union. The European Union represents the people of Europe. The European Union is a democratic political system. The European Union, don't listen to those Eurosceptic parties that claim the European Union is anti-democratic. So they approved Jean-Claude Juncker, and Jean-Claude Juncker was, he was a relatively effective president of the European Commission. He was president of the European Commission when Brexit was voted and passed. And he claims that Jean-Claude Juncker claims that he was not surprised by that outcome, that he suspected that when the proposal to have a vote in England in a referendum about whether or not to stay in the European Union would happen, that the British would overall vote to leave. He claims that he predicted that would be the outcome. So I want to talk a little bit about this topic because it relates to the debate topic about how do we decrease the democratic deficit of the European Union. You know, the critics of the European Union claim that the people of Europe do not feel, whatever this means, feel in their hearts that the European Union represents them, that they feel more that the German government represents them as Germans in Europe, or the Italian government represents more the Italians in Europe. And that's more important to them than this thing, the European Union. But the European Union is supposedly very powerful and very influential, right? Shaping the laws and policies that determine so much of our economic life. And remember, 80% of a person's social interaction with other human beings is economics. And the European Union is 80% about the common market, the single market, right? So and this claim that the European Union lacks a sufficient democracy is a very sensitive topic. And that's why I proposed the debate topic for this week about whether or not the Commission of the European President should be directly elected. It wasn't something that I just came up with. There's been talk about this over the years. You can type into Google electing the European Council, European Commission President, and you'll find lots of media commentary over the years. But then, of course, this all sort of stopped or became less significant when the crises came to Europe, particularly with the Brexit vote. When Brexit debate came up, and then the Brexit vote happened, and then the Brexit referendum vote to leave the European Union was approved. For the United Kingdom to leave the European Union was approved. This talk about directly electing the European Commission President faded in the media with as the European Union was dealing with more serious problems or more immediate issues. And part of, I think, maybe perhaps one of the reasons to avoid talking about this topic was because the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker was put in position over the objections of David Cameron in the United Kingdom. And that may have contributed to support for leaving the European Union. That here, the most powerful position in the European Union, the president of the European Commission, was nominated and enforced and approved over the objections of the British. And the fact that then Jean-Claude Juncker looks like he's drunk doesn't help. But before I go forward, let me go to Cyber Campus and do what we have to do in terms of attendance. And so this sheet, I think the Cyber Campus page already open, and I don't see it there. So I have to just wait a second there and go to make sure I open up Cyber Campus. And there you see Cyber Campus. And then we go back to the share screen and Cyber Campus. And there you see our Cyber Campus site, and go to attendance and go to week 5 and add and smart attendance. And your number is 210. 210 is your smart attendance number, 210. So let me put that in, 210. And there you get the smart attendance number to enter in. And so back to our discussion of the Spitzenkandidaten. And so that's jumping ahead a bit, but maybe, well, why not? Since I started talking about it, we should finish it. The leaders of the political groups in the European Parliament attempted to seize the initiative by interpreting the language in the Treaty of Lisbon. And the Treaty of Lisbon, of course, came into effect 12 years ago in 2009. In a manner by which they would nominate their own choices as leading candidates, which I guess is the German translation, is the English translation of this word Spitzenkandidaten, for the president of the commission, which they would promote in appealing to voters in the European Parliament elections. And, when I read this, I keep thinking about how democracy, modern democracy, emerged, for example, in the United Kingdom over the last 300 years. How did modern democracy emerge? And it emerged through tension and struggle among the different political elite groups making or controlling the British political system, say in the year 1721. As Britain changed and evolved and people became more and more politically aware among the mass of the population, more and more power was taken away from the king and his ministers in Great Britain and taken by the Parliament, the British Parliament, the House of Lords, but particularly the House of Commons, through political crises or political struggle. And in other words, the British king and the House of Lords in the British Parliament did not simply just give their power that they held in their hands to the House of Commons. The House of Commons demanded and took it. And so the United Kingdom to this day does not have one single document that states what are the responsibilities and powers of the United Kingdom government, right? But we all know that the House of Commons represents, we just all accept that the House of Commons represents the will of the British citizens. And that emerged over the decades and generations of political combat and struggle, usually but not always peaceful, between the central government in London, the executive branch, the king and his ministers, or the king and the queen and their ministers, and the House of Commons. And so you see, I'm sure, of course, that the members of the European Parliament know very well what I just said, and they know very well British history, and they know very well how democracy, modern democracy, developed in Britain and all the other countries of Europe through evolutionary change, hopefully peacefully, often not peacefully, in which the mass of the population, the public, demanded more power for the elected government bodies in the states of Europe. And so here you see the European Parliament attempting to use its political capabilities and influence to pressure the Council, the European Council, to choose the presidents of the European Commission from those people that the European Parliament wanted, which is not stated in the treaty anywhere. It just says that the Treaty of Lisbon just states that the European Council chooses who will be president of the European Commission, and then the European Parliament can vote up or down on that nominee. But the European Parliament does not nominate the members of the European Commission. It's the European Council that does that, including the president of the European Commission. So here the European Parliament was attempting to establish what we call in English a political precedent. Finally establish the principle that the European Council politically cannot resist choosing who will be president of the European Commission from the candidates that the European Parliament prefers. Sounds like democracy, right? And again, but after the experience of Jean-Claude Juncker and Brexit, the European Council rejected this Spitzencandidate precedent and principle, right? After the 2019 European Parliament elections, the European Parliament political groups, in other words, the conservatives, the socialists, the liberals, and the others, once again, put forward their favorite candidates from the European Parliament to become European Commission president. And the right-wing group, which is the largest group, the European People's Party, and the largest political group in the European Parliament, nominated their leader, Manfred Weber from Germany, as the leader of the European People's Party, and they nominated him to be their favorite candidate to be the president of the European Commission. The left wing, the socialists, nominated Frans Timmermans of the Netherlands, but the European People's Party is larger than the left-wing socialist group. And the president of the European Council, Donald Tusk, publicly stated in February 2018 that the European Council possessed autonomous competence to nominate the Commission president. So Donald Tusk, when he was president of the European Council, he's no longer president of the European Council, right? That's, I think it's Fontel, I have to go back and check, stated that no, the European Council is not accepting that there's a binding political precedent that the European Council must only choose the president of the European Commission from those people that the European Parliament wants. No, he stated the European Council has autonomous precedence. And, he made that statement, over 3 years ago. And, the European Council, he said, only needed to take note of the European Parliament's wishes. And the French President Emmanuel Macron and German Prime Minister Angela Merkel also disputed the Spitzenkandidaten process. Because you understand, right, that the person in Britain who is the Prime Minister of Britain is the person who controls the House of Commons in Great Britain. In other words, the House of Commons determines who will be the Prime Minister of Britain, because the House of Commons has to confirm that person. So the House of Commons is the formal center of power in Great Britain, in the United Kingdom. And by the Spitzenkandidaten process in Europe was attempting to establish the principle that the center of power in Europe is moving to the European Parliament, because only those candidates that the European Parliament wants to be president of the European Commission may be president of the European Commission, the most powerful executive branch office, or most powerful individual in the at least in the European Union institutions. But then the member state leaders, and those powerful member states, France and Germany, said, no, we're not. We let you get away with that once before, European Parliament, with Jean-Claude Juncker, but we're not letting you get away with it again. Also, Angela Merkel did not like Manfred Weber. Weber was also a German, and according to news reports, Angela Merkel does not like that man, Manfred Weber. The Polish government, the Polish authorities don't like Timmermans, as also the conservatives did. So they finally, members of the European Council finally settled upon Ursula von der Leyen, who is not a member of the European Parliament. She's the former defense minister of Germany. She is a woman, which, of course, gender mainstreaming and appealing to the over half of the population in Europe and the world that is female. That's a really strong emphasis in European strategy to build a European identity. Remember, that's your midterm paper assignment. Can the European Union build and construct in people's minds an overriding European identity? And to do that, you have to give people reasons to want to do that. Like they get some benefit from doing that, like buying Eurobonds. Yeah, I love Europe. I'm investing in Eurobonds. And I'm a woman, or I support women's liberation and feminist rights. And wow, I like the European Union. Look what it's doing by giving real political power to women in our world, not just in Europe, but in the whole world. And so they the European Council nominated Ursula von der Leyen. The German defense minister was chosen. She was not a member of the European Parliament. She's also, I should mention here, I think this is interesting, this indicates that she's an aristocrat. She's from a Yanban family, right? So that also appeals to many people in Europe, including conservative people, that because she comes, that von means that, she comes from a family that is traditional nobility. And she was a longtime supporter of Angela Merkel. Her nomination was controversial because of the precedent with previous experience with Juncker. Many European feminists saw her as too conservative. That, okay, she's a woman, but she acts like a man. So that doesn't really help. She acts like an ambitious male politician, in other words. So that doesn't help, supposedly, the cause of women's liberation from dominant male stereotyping, because what benefit do women get if women advance by acting more like men than men do? And of course, the best example of that is Margaret Thatcher. European feminists never looked to Margaret Thatcher of Great Britain, who was prime minister from, what was it, 1979 to 1991. I never see them point to Margaret Thatcher, prime minister of Great Britain, as an example, as a source of pride for European feminism, because she was more nationalistic, more conservative, more imperialistic than most male political figures in United Kingdom. So somebody like Margaret Thatcher, in a sense, some feminists might argue, set back ended progress or reduced progress of feminism, because Margaret Thatcher's success was sending the message that any woman can be successful in this world. You don't have to change the world. The world doesn't have to accommodate women for women to be successful. You just have to act more like men. So that's the significance of why many European feminists saw her as too conservative. She has, by the way, she also has 7 children. If you go to the Wikipedia entry for her, there's a Wikipedia page. She's a doctor. She's also a medical doctor, and she's got seven children. So, you know, that looks, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of elements of conservatism to her, and she's from the aristocracy. All right. Many European conservatives saw her as too much of a, then on the other hand, of course, many European conservatives saw her as too much of a feminist. And many Greens, you know, leftist Green political leaders saw her, which kind of suspected her commitment to global efforts to address climate change. And of course, some socialists were doubtful because she's conservative. And her nomination was confirmed with only a 9-vote majority. I think I might have misspoken. The president of the European Commission has to be approved by the European Parliament, and then the entire European Commission has to be voted by the European Parliament. But she was nominated, her nomination was confirmed only by 9 votes out of 750 members of the European Parliament. So, you know, there was resistance. And with this close of a vote, there was resentment and anger that the Spitzenkandidat principle was pushed aside. And Juncker previously had been confirmed by a 48-vote majority. So this is, again, relates to your midterm paper, which is due a week from tomorrow, your first draft, and about building a European identity. And that important point to keep in mind is that to make people want to feel European, you have to give them an incentive that makes them feel positive, that they get some benefit from it. And that benefit can be economic, material, but it also can be identity. And it also can be ideological appeal, that the European Union, for example, is really doing the most of any major world power to promote women's empowerment, for example. So, so let's do an exercise. And let me see here. Oh, well, here are some more interesting comments about or news reports over the years regarding Jean-Claude Juncker. There were people complaining about Juncker's alcohol dependency, that Juncker, you know, well, I want to just highlight that there were some concerns expressed. Here you see some news reports about this. Let me see here. I thought I had a Wikipedia entry of him acting in ways that are problematic. Oh, not her. Well, she was a Polish. Well, anyway, I won't need to go into it now, but there were some reports about Juncker acting in ways, like here you see he fell asleep in a meeting with the Pope in his chair. Of course, maybe he was on medicine, maybe whatever, but you know, just tired. He's an old man. He fell asleep in his chair. So just to show you, okay. And, but what about Ursula von der Leyen and the authority and influence that she has as president of the European Commission and the European Commission as a whole? Let me ask you to, as we talk more about the European Union and the European Union institutions and the representatives of the European Union, which include the European Commission president, the European Council president, there's a president of the European Parliament. Each of the European parliamentary groups has a president. So there's a lot of presidents in the European Union. But the president of the European Commission is considered to be the most important of the European Union positions. It's not the only one. The president of the European Council has an important position, but the president of the European Council, again, that person's responsibility is to support the functioning of the European Council. The president of the European Council really doesn't have any kind of autonomous ability. He has less power than, say, the General Secretary of the United Nations, I would suggest. The president of the European Council basically is a trusted executive advisor and assistant who helps the communication among the member state prime ministers and presidents. Remember, they have to meet 4 times a year in Brussels. So they need somebody to organize those meetings. And that's at least sometimes more than 4 times a year in Brussels. The European Council has to meet. And that's a lot of work. And so that's what the president of the European Council does. But the president of the European Commission, that person has to oversee the day-to-day functioning. That president of the European Commission is like the president of a company, the chief executive officer of Samsung, or the chief executive officer of Google, or the chief executive officer of Microsoft. That person is involved in the day-to-day, or oversees the day-to-day functioning of those companies. And the European Council acts more like the board of directors. The board of directors gives guidance to the company, but the details and the policy decisions to implement the ideas and guidance and direction that the board of directors want to adopt, that's developed, and all the hard work involved in making that into real policy is done by the chief executive officer. So the president of the European Commission is the chief executive officer of the European Union. And so I have a question for you. Please respond to the following statement. The fact that the European Union is not a national actor, so the European Union is not a nation state, even though, as we covered last week, the European Commission is starting to act in ways that, or I should say the European Union is starting to act in ways that look more and more like a federal government. When the European Commission said, we're not going to give you, Poland and Hungary, your coronavirus-19 pandemic recovery money, 50 or 60 billion dollars for Poland and 10 billion or 8 or 10 billion for Hungary. We're not going to give it to you unless you change your behavior, your policy behavior. That looks significant. But the fact that the European Union is not a national actor, but a confederal actor, whereas the United States government is the federal government of the United States, and clearly the federal government has ultimate authority over the states, the European Union doesn't have ultimate authority officially over the member states. In the Brexit case, the United Kingdom's departure, which appeared, 6 or 7 years ago, that seemed inconceivable to most people who were elites studying the European Union. They couldn't even conceive. I mean, it seemed to be absurd. And in fact, the Brexit, the procedure for leaving the European Union that Brexit adopted, that's in the European Union's Treaty of Lisbon. That was only adopted in the Treaty of Lisbon that came into effect 12 years ago in 2009. And it was put in to the Treaty of Lisbon as a last-minute addition that someone decided, I think it was a British politician, a left-wing British politician in the European Parliament who's no longer there. Of course, he lost his seat. He put that in there because he thought, well, we should have that in the Treaty of Lisbon as part of the Treaty of the European Union, just in case. And, it was put in there, and nobody really paid much attention to it until nobody, people like me and outside observers didn't pay much attention to it until David Cameron announced that if he gets reelected in 2015 to head the British government and control the House of Commons through his party, the Conservative Party, winning most of the seats, that he would agree to have another vote on whether or not Britain would stay in the European Union, and we know what happened, right? So, but the fact that the European Union is not a national actor, but a confederal actor, gives it a soft power advantage over nation states in international relations like China, Russia, United States. when the European Union is interacting with let's say China, that the European Union has an advantage, a soft power advantage over the United States in terms of bargaining leverage and influence over China than the United States has, because the European Union is not a nation state. Is that true? Do you strongly agree or neutral cannot decide, disagree or strongly disagree? And let me divide you into your we have 4 people here, so we break up into 2 groups, and we'll just assign people automatically. And so please join your groups. So Kang Tong Un and Oun Tek will join room 1, and Marie and UJE will join room 2. Please join your rooms. And
Sir,
yeah,
can you could you repeat the question, please?
the question is, and let me show it to you. Okay, so share screen. This is the question. The fact that the European Union is not a national actor, the way the United States or Russia or China or Japan are national actors. The fact the European Union is not a national actor gives it an advantage in influencing other actors in international relations because it's not a national actor. And remember, Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, speaks for the European Union. So when she speaks for the European Union, she's not speaking for Germany. She's not speaking for France. She's not speaking for Italy. She's not speaking for Belgium. She's speaking for the European Union, or what many people today call Europe. That Ursula von der Leyen is not the only person, but when she speaks as an official and very powerful representative of Europe. But the fact that Europe is Europe and not Germany, and not a German empire, and not France, not a French empire, but is the European Union, a confederal actor, does that give her a power advantage? Does that give the European Union some kind of advantage in international relations that US, United States, Russia, China do not have? Can you explain why? And so who's going to, well, we'll both, let's just, we'll flip a coin here. Heads will be the person on the top of the list of the group will speak first, and it's heads. So the first person listed in the group will speak first, but everybody should have a chance to speak because we have a small class. So does it give it an advantage? And, you know, there's no single right answer to these questions, as I continually repeat. And so I'm going to write a statement as well, and I have to find a piece of clean paper to write that statement, and I'm running out of clean paper. So
who needs to speak, sir?
Yes, you want to speak?
No, who needs to speak?
The first person listed in the group. So as the first person to speak. So that is you. Join your groups. I asked you to join your groups. So Kang Tong Un and Owen Tech, please join room 1. And Maria and UJE join room 2. I open the room, so please join those rooms. So Marie, that's you for room 2. And Kang Tong Un is going to speak first for room 1. So talk with each other. And as I said, I will always also do what I ask you to do. And so I need to get a piece of clean paper here. And so here's a piece of clean paper. And I will write a statement as well. And but I will choose my position. Let me see. Let me get in the share screen by flipping a coin. So I will do whatever Admiral Lee tells me to do. So heads, I'm 1 through 3, and it's tails. So heads, I'm 4, and it's 4 heads. So I disagree with this statement. So I will write an explanation as to why I disagree with this statement. Okay. And you have 1 minute. Okay, so who's going to speak first? Group room 1 or room 2? So let me
Um,
flip a coin.
we
Yeah.
we didn't have enough time to search it up because we tried to find things online, but it was hard. So we
Well,
didn't find
I mean,
it.
I don't expect you to find something online, of course. I wanted you basically just to think about this. You know, I didn't say it before, but you know, I always come back to this topic of nationalism. And so let me go ahead and open up that schematic outline of bargaining leverage that I keep emphasizing in the class, because that's what I was going to come to anyway when I was talking about my position, that when you look here at this bargaining leverage, I'll give you a little secret, right? That you can see here that this is the general interactive strategic setting. And what that refers to in this booklet, this power model, this model of power and diplomacy, is how do other actors perceive each other's ultimate intentions? As an initiator actor attempts to do something to influence, like let's take the individual example. I like Maria. Maria is a great student. Imagine a situation in class where Maria Esendikov and I are in class. I'm teaching a class. Maria is in the front of the class. Imagine that scenario. So you're sitting there, Maria, in front of the class while I'm teaching, and you reach into your backpack or reach into your pocket, and you pull out a knife. You pull out this knife. Now, I like Maria. So I'm going to assume that Maria's intentions, I'm going to interpret Maria pulling out this knife in terms of my assumptions regarding Maria's intentions. So I like Maria. So I assume that at first, at the start, that Maria doesn't hate me, that Maria doesn't want to hurt me, that Maria respects me as a professor, that Maria is not aggressive or imperialist towards me. Maria is not trying to intimidate or browbeat me. Maria, so she must be, I'm going to interpret Maria's action of pulling out this knife because, I'm going to assume that she's got a problem. Maybe there's a piece of cloth, that a thread on her clothes that she needs to cut before it unravels, or she's going to, she's got something she wants to eat and she needs to open up the package because she's hungry, or something along the line. I will interpret her action in terms of my ultimate understanding of her ultimate intentions, her ultimate motivations. That's the general strategy interactive setting. What do I interpret your ultimate intentions are when you use your diplomatic bargaining leverage, when you threaten to give or withhold aid, when you talk about using force, when you offer me trade opportunities. Now imagine another student, I won't mention a name, let's call him student Delta variant, Mr. Delta variant student, the Delta variant. He hates me, and I think he hates me, and I know he hates me. I don't know why he hates me, but he hates me. Maybe he hates me because he's a bad guy. And he's sitting in the front row of the same class, and he does the exact same thing. He acts in the exact same way that Maria acted. he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a knife. I'm going to interpret his behavior in a totally different way because of my totally different understanding of his ultimate motivations, his ultimate intentions. You see? So, and that will reflect, or that will determine how I respond to how, when Maria pulls out a knife, I will respond one way. And when student Delta variant pulls out a knife, I will respond and act in a different way. That's all this refers to. So when you look at the European Union, and when Ursula von der Leyen declares or condemns Russia's human rights violations or Turkey's human rights violations, let's pick on Turkey because Turkey wants to join the European Union, right? Turkey applied to join the European Union. And when Ursula von der Leyen or the other leaders of the European Union condemned the Turkish government for its policy against press freedom, freedom of the media, of the press, or its actions against the Kurds, but particularly they're always focusing, for example, on freedom of the press. The Turkish government puts people in jail for criticizing the government. Or when the Erdogan government in Turkey, the Islamist government in Turkey under the Islamic Party, it refuses to pass to continue with laws that protect gender equality, gender mainstreaming. When Ursula von der Leyen states it, it might be different than if, for example, France, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, it makes the same condemnation or attack, verbal attack on Turkey and its policies. Why? Because France is a nation state. And among peoples and groups and leaders in international politics, they are more suspicious of nation states and their ultimate intentions. Why is France criticizing Turkey? Is France criticizing Turkey because France wants to be again a dominant force in the Middle East? Because France used to control what is Syria and Lebanon up until World War II. That was part of the French Empire. France wants to dominate and control that area for its own economic interests and also for its grandeur and pride interests at the expense of Turkey, which of course lost that territory during at the end of World War I to France and Britain. And so their suspicion, why are you criticizing? Because of course people and state leaders understand that President Joseph Biden or President Emmanuel Macron of France or Prime Minister Angela Merkel of Germany, they will all express and explain their foreign policies in broadly appealing ideological or religious justifications, in broadly appealing ideological religious symbols. And I think we talked about this earlier. We talked about nationalistic universalism. State leaders, whether they be Joseph Stalin or Mao Zedong or Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Emmanuel Macron, always claim that what France wants is good not only for France, it's good for the whole world. It's good for all human beings. And they'll talk about in the 20th century, they talk about, and after World War II, they talk about what China stands for human rights. That's why China does what it's doing, because China is trying to uplift the peoples of the world that have been still underdeveloped due to Japanese and earlier European racist imperialism. And China is standing and fighting against imperialism. China is always fighting against imperialism when it expands into Africa and to Latin America and Venezuela. It's fighting against imperialism and in favor of self-determination. Yeah, who's against self-determination? Who can be against self-determination? Who can be in favor of imperialism? Nobody. Everybody says they're against imperialism. Everybody says they favor self-determination. Everybody says they favor human rights. Even Kim Jong-un says he favors human rights, right? They all favor human rights, they say. So, but you know, people lie. They lie too. And they lie to each other and they lie to themselves all the time. But Ursula von der Leyen, she doesn't speak for a particular nation. She speaks for the 27 member states, the 27 member state European Union and its institutions. So does that give the European Union soft power advantage? That if you're Beijing, you're more likely to trust or not be so suspicious of European Union motivations, ultimate intentions, when the European Union says, you know, you really shouldn't do what you're doing to the Uyghurs. China. Or it says to Turkey, you know, you really shouldn't do what you're doing to the journalists and media reporters in Turkey. You shouldn't put those people in jail. That's bad. President Tayyip Erdogan, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, that's bad, Turkey. That's bad. Because of this. Because as we said earlier, the biggest challenge to peace in Europe is nationalism. And nationalism associates with the predisposition to be suspicious and to stereotype your other nations next to you, your neighbors. If you're a nation, you tend to be suspicious and stereotype your other national neighbors as sources of threat, or in the case of Hitler, tremendous opportunity because they're so backward and degenerate. And so Germany has a marvelous opportunity to conquer them. So that was the justification or the reason we have that exercise. So what do you think about it? Now I wrote a disagree statement. Remember I flipped a coin and I came up 4 on this exercise. So I'm going to read my statement. It's going to be opposite of what I just said to you. Like I said, there are no easy answers to these questions. So what are your thoughts? I want your thoughts. I want you to talk to me. I mean, political scientists don't agree on these topics. How do I expect us to agree on these topics? So Kang Tong-un, it will speak first if it's heads, and it's Kang Tong-un. So Kang Tong-un, speak first for pro. Sorry, not for pro, for room 1. What do you think?
First of all, I agree. Because as a federal actor, the EU has an advantage in terms of economical, especially trade, because the flow of a principle of trade has moved in a cycle. The EU, as a federal actor, can respond fluidly and properly.
So you,
also,
okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, also they can act their powers as a huge federal to other countries and continents, I think.
So you're saying since the European Union is perceived, because remember this statement here, right? And go back to the bargaining leverage list that I showed you before, that perceived, right? Perceived, that the European Union is perceived as being preoccupied with business and trade, that the European Union is mostly about business and trade in the world. And China knows this, or at least believes this, or perceives this, right? That as a 27 member state confederation, that European Union is never going to try to oppress China. The European Union is never going to try to threaten China militarily. The European Union, because they're talking about in Washington, D.C., they're talking about war with China. Different individuals, not the president, but different actors that are close to the government in the United States. They're talking about what do we do to prepare for war with China. The European Union is never going to be perceived as preparing for a war with China. It can't. It's not a nation state. Its military it doesn't even have a military, really. It doesn't have and even if it did have a military, the people of Europe are not going to go to war to protect, say, French colonies in the Pacific Ocean. France has millions of citizens that live in the Pacific and Indo-European, in the Indian and Pacific Ocean still. It still has some colonies in French Polynesia and Reunion Island, and it has 7,000 soldiers. But if China were to invade or take some French territory, would Germans and Italians and British, well, Britain's not in the European Union anymore, would they be willing to threaten China with war to take back that territory? It's even hard to believe that they ever would. That's not what the European Union is about. It's about business, it's about trade. So that might be, but you know, that's a danger. When nations confront each other, they're more prone to engage in suspicious stereotyping. The United States wants to keep China down. The United States is biased against non-white people. That the United States will never allow the Chinese nation to have the dignity that it deserves. That the United States is in a long line of imperialist oppressors that abuse China, and the Communist Party of China will no longer tolerate China's nation being oppressed and abused by anybody, including the United States. And I'm not saying that's the true understanding of the United States, but nationalists are more prone to engage in that kind of thinking and that kind of behavior, right? You know, we covered that in the lesson plan, if I can find it here, right? Yeah, a nationalist tends to see him or herself as a member of a nation to which they give primary and terminal loyalty. And they're more prone to act nationalistically, which means they're more prone to stereotype. They're more prone to see the world in terms of threats and opportunities, to see terrible conspiracies, dangerous conspiracies by a dangerous enemy who wants to dominate and control them. And you know, this is taken from my theoretical background in studying nationalism, and they tend to. I don't have it fully outlined here, but I do in other classes. We see regular patterns of behavior among nationalists. That nationalists tend to see the outside world in terms of threats and opportunities for the nation. Keep in mind, when you're in your space shuttle or your spacecraft over the Earth, looking down at the Earth, you don't see Germany colored red and France colored pink and Italy colored green and Belgium colored yellow and Russia colored orange and China. You don't see the world that way. You see the world, you look down from the spaceship and you see Europe as a geography. You see Europe with mountains and trees and rivers and cities and planes moving and cars being driven and trains moving. But China, Germany, Belgium, Kyrgyzstan, they only exist here, up in our minds. And nationalists are more prone to really emphasize that that's the way the world is. Human beings are not human beings. They're Chinese, they're Americans, they're Germans, they're Italians, they're Belgians. And there really is, and being a human, that doesn't really mean much. But being Chinese means a lot, and being German means a lot, and being French means a lot, and being Italian means a lot. And it means a lot because most people do believe it means a lot. So God help you if you betray the nation, because those people who believe in Belgium or who believe in France, they're going to punish you for this belief, for offending or disobeying and being disloyal, I should say, to this belief in their view. So again, how do we construct a European identity on top of these existing national identities? Can it somehow go beyond those national identities? Can the states of Europe become like building blocks, like bricks, right? If I build a house, like here is Belgium, here is Germany, here is France, here is Italy, and you put them all together and they're just a bunch of bricks. But when you build them, put them together like this, and you organize them and construct them in a way, you create something that's new, that's beyond the sum of its parts. It's not just a bunch of bricks. It's something constructed to create something that is new and beyond. It is more than just the sum of its pieces. And I love it because it gives me something I really need. Like I want to feel equal to men as a woman, or I want to feel that I can really act through Europe to save Homo sapiens, humans, from global climate change, or I am going to work through the European Union to protect the rights of animals, which you really can't do if you're just an Italian and a Belgian. Okay, so you try to protect animals in Belgium, but if you work through Europe, you can maybe be much more effective in shaping the whole world's behavior towards animals, because the animal rights movement is very strong in Europe, right? And what did I see in the news a couple of days ago? President Moon Jae-in is going to might propose banning the use of dog meat in South Korea. Why? Partly because so many Europeans and Americans think that, oh, dogs and animal rights are so important, animal rights, and we all love our dog. So back to the screen share, or back. So Owen Tech, do you have anything to add? What's your thought, Owen Tech?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The member states of European Union historically have almost similar cultural characteristics. So I think they basically share the same identity, although it may have been divided in details as current state was established and formed its identity as a people. But yeah, I also agree with that.
Okay. You agree. Okay. Can you see the exercise? Do you see the question? I want to check. It says I'm screen sharing. Can you see it now? Because I want to make sure, because sometimes the screen share isn't okay. There.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. Yeah, I have to make sure, because sometimes it tells me I'm screen sharing and it's not really screen sharing. It's stuck on some other file. Like I said, I mean, I open up all these files, and Zoom just can't really deal with it so easily. But okay, so that's you, Marie. Where do you fit on the scale?
I think it's hard to form an opinion about this question. I don't know.
Why is it
think
hard?
I need more time.
Why is what I said not persuasive? What is the arguments against what I've been saying?
I don't know. I think I just need more time on my own to form something to say.
Well, I think you do know. It's so obvious. Perhaps it's not clear. But I'll read my statement. And who is next in your group? Let me remind myself who's out in the breakout room, and that is UJE. UJE, where are you on the scale?
Yeah, yes, it's really hard for me to choose.
Okay, you're neutral, cannot decide. Why is it hard to choose? Both you and Marie, why is it difficult to choose?
And like the other questions, it's, I don't know.
I'm
like
not
the first
sure
time.
about I'm not sure about this question, and I don't know. So
well, I think you do know. It just seems so obvious because most people are nationalists. And what I wrote disagree. And let me tell you why I wrote disagree. I disagree. You remember, but I flipped a coin. It's not my view. I flipped this coin. That's why I had to write disagree. I disagree because the European Union leaders do not appear or are not perceived. Let me go back to being perceived. Make sure I get the right file here. So I gotta make sure that it's actually screen sharing the right file. So that the can you see the bargaining levers list there? Perceive, perceive, perceive. Can you see
Yes.
that? Okay, good. See, I disagree because the European Union leaders do not appear or are not perceived as having the mobilization capability to commit Europe to engaging in costly conflicts with other great powers. Why? Because in some, Beijing or Washington or Moscow perceive Europe as being very easy to divide the Europeans. It's very easy. Why? Because it's 27 member states. 27 member states, most of those states are nation states, right? It's being very easy to divide and separate the member states from each other on security issues. Beijing doesn't, like I told you, European Union has big economy. It's got the euro now. It's selling euro bonds. But can the European Union really threaten to use deadly force in international relations like the Americans can, or the Chinese can, or the Russians can? They might, you can maybe say somebody, yeah, but who believes them? Remember what happened. The experience in 2003 with Berlin and Paris, Germany and France, under Gerhard Schroeder in Berlin and Jacques Chirac, president of France in 2003, attempted to stand up to the United States to stop the United States from invading Iraq. And they failed miserably. The Americans divided the Europeans like that. Even though Paris and Berlin said, hey, Europeans, this is a disaster. Don't support the United States. And the Americans said to France and Germany, you stabbed us in the back, France. You stabbed us in the back after all the good that we did for France in the 20th century and World War I and World War II and the Cold War. You stabbed us in the back. You Italians, you Spaniards. Of course, the British are on our side. Former communist countries that want to join the European Union, will you support the United States in Iraq? And they said, yes, we will. Yes, yes. Because they're nations. Those are nation states, and the leaders of those countries have to convince their people, their voters in their countries, in Poland and Hungary, that they are doing what is best for Poland. And making an enemy of the United States is not a good idea right after the fall of communism, after the fall of communism, when Poland is desperately poor, Hungary is desperately poor, Bulgaria is desperately poor. You're going to make an enemy of the United States when you need the Americans in NATO to help you against Russia? When you believe that the only reason why the European Union ultimately exists is because NATO, because the Americans have overcome the security dilemma between France and Germany, and they control and dominate Western Europe's security areas. So the French and the Germans are able to cooperate with each other because they don't have to worry about stabbing each other in the back because the Americans are there. You're going to make an enemy of the United States over Iraq? Paris and Berlin might have big dreams about the European Union being an equal power in the world, but it's not. In this perception that prevails particularly in Eastern Europe. So on the one hand, you can say, yeah, there are advantages to the European Union not being perceived as a nation state. I mean, you saw it, for example, well, let's take an example. China has applied to join the comprehensive and the comprehensive Pacific trade, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, right? The TPP. They formally asked to join it last week. You say, that's great. They want to join the what is it called? Let me find that Wikipedia entry. I just want to know the official name of it, right? It's now called, okay, so make sure I share the screen. It's now called the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. So you see, oh, look, Britain, of course, applied to join. China is now colored orange. Last time I showed you this website, this Wikipedia site, China was not colored orange. Now China is colored orange. Why? Because it's applied to join. Do you think Australia and Japan and Canada are going to say, oh yeah, come on in, China, come on in, yay. I mean, reading the news reports, what does it say? Does it say something about China here? China. Yeah, on 16 September, this month, or last month, China formally applied to join the CPTPP. Do you think the other members of the CPTPP are going to agree to admit China? Why not? Isn't it just about business? Isn't China focused on primarily uplifting its economy and with a mutual win-win positive outcome, bargaining and negotiations with the other countries to develop jointly? You think China's going to be able to join? I should have prepared an exercise for this. And I look at the media reports yesterday and they say, Anio! They're not going to let China in because they don't trust their motivations. They don't trust China's ultimate intentions. China is joining because they want to try to make you believe that their intentions are not bad. They're not dangerous. But you know, the United States is not going to allow Australia to agree to allow China to join this comprehensive and progressive agreement. It's not going to allow it. With the AUKUS, the Australia, United Kingdom, US security agreement, you think Australia and New Zealand are going to agree to allow China to join? No, because they don't trust their ultimate intentions. Because China's a big nation state that has a communist party, one-party state, that America, for various reasons, is becoming more in conflict with over the last, well, particularly 5 years. But the European Union can make trade agreements with China, and with less hostility. I mean, there have been efforts to negotiate a free trade agreement with China, but it's being held up. But the problem with European Union is that the European Union is perceived as being too much dependent upon the United States and NATO. So even I attended a conference this morning on Zoom at what time was it? It was at midnight, at 12 o'clock midnight my time. And what is his name? Vladis. Yeah, this person was speaking at the University of Pittsburgh because there was a meeting at Pittsburgh of a technical and trade cooperation agreement between the United States and can you see this? Can you see the Valdis Dombrovskis Wikipedia entry here? You can see this. He was there to sign some agreement with the United States on behalf of the European Union for technical and economic cooperation. And he said, and this is just 10 hours ago, he said that Europe shares America's security concerns about China. So again, you see European Union, oh, what the Americans want, we will do with regard to China. So so what's the summary? Well, let me make sure. This was on a Zoom meeting this morning at 12 o'clock my time. So let me go back to the exercise statement, and we have one more person who gets the chance to speak. And so we go to share. We go to the breakout room, and that breakout room is UJE. UJE. Oh, did I already ask you where you fit on the scale? Where do you fit on the scale, UJE?
Oh, you already asked.
Oh, okay. Okay, I already asked. All right. So to summarize, nation states have a disadvantage over actors like multinational actors like the the European Union, because it's more likely that they are going to be suspicious and be targets of suspicion in terms of people's fears and concerns about what that actor is ultimately intending to do. That's why I don't think China's going to be allowed to join the comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. But nation states do have a benefit. They do have an advantage in that they can mobilize people. I can get Chinese people living in China, because remember, China exists up here. I can get those people living in China. I can get most of them really excited about China and making China great again. Because China is a nation state. So there's a mobilization-based advantage that China and the United States and Germany and Russia and Japan have, and France and Italy have, that Belgium does not have, because Belgium's a multi-ethnic state. Belgium is not a nation state. It's a multi-ethnic state. It's another category of states. So is Bosnia was a multi-ethnic state. Macedonia is a multi-ethnic state. You can find a lot of them in Africa and Asia. India is a multi-ethnic state. Indonesia is a multi-ethnic state. Vietnam is a nation state. Philippines is a multi-ethnic state. Often these states are products of colonialism. They're post-colonial states with borders drawn by the British, the Dutch, the French, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Germans, the Italians in the early modern through the 19th century. And they have weak mobilization bases. You can't get people excited as much about fighting for Nigeria as you can get people excited, and those people living in Nigeria are not going to get excited about fighting for Nigeria the way people in China can get really excited about fighting for China. Because Nigeria was created by the British. There was never a Nigeria before the British Empire made it. But there's been a China for thousands of years, just like there's been a Korea for thousands of years, and a Japan for thousands of years in people's thinking. Just like there's been an Iran for thousands of years. The Iranians think that there's an ancient old nation as ancient and old as China and Greece and Korea. And so they're proud and they stereotype and they get mobilized and they stand up to the Americans, even though you can say it's really irrational, whatever that means. So, but again, even nation states like the United States get defeated in Afghanistan, a desperately poor country of 40 million people. I know it's far away from the United States, but it's a desperately poor multi-ethnic country, multi-ethnic state with 15 different groups, some Turkish, some Persian, and they don't even like each other. And they defeated the mighty American superpower nation state, just like they defeated the Soviet Union 30 years ago, just like how Vietnam defeated the mighty United States nation state in the Vietnam War 50 years ago. So is it so cool to be able to mobilize for assertive security military issues? Does that mean so much today? I mean, can China and the United States ever go to war as a choice? They can't. It's suicide. With hundreds of nuclear weapons? I mean, it's strange the things I hear coming out of Washington, like today, that they talk about scenarios of war with China over Taiwan and over the South China Sea. I mean, it's insane. You can't go to war with China. It can kill millions of people. So let me wrap this up by doing an exercise. So give you some participation credit. And so we go to vote and so make sure you can see this screen here. Go here, share screen, go like this, go like this. So please vote on whether or not, please respond to the following statement. The fact that the European Union is not a national actor, but a confederal actor gives it a soft power advantage over nation states like China, Russia, and the US. Please vote. And you have 30 seconds. One more person should vote. 15 seconds. And there you have it. So 3 of you agree, 1 disagrees. Okay. Oh, it's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, use and application of military force, it's becoming more and more of it's something that's not really feasible. I mean, even, well, it's feasible against countries that don't have nuclear technology, but there's at least 50 countries that could make nuclear weapons. I mean, if South Korea wanted to make nuclear weapons, they could have them by next week. Japan, if they want to have nuclear weapons, they could have them by our next class. Same with Germany. So war is something that is particularly increasingly dangerous in the nuclear era. Why if you're North Korea, you want nuclear weapons is this. You want to make this lever more powerful by including nuclear weapons in the equation. That America and South Korea must pay attention to Pyongyang and give Pyongyang sanctions relief, and South Korea must give more economic aid to North Korea because accidents happen, and now we've got many nuclear weapons that are part of that accident scenario. Even if the accident is not an accident, like you secretly sink the Chonan Navy ship 10 years ago and say, I didn't do it. You're gonna bomb me? I didn't do it. I'm North Korea. I didn't do it. And by the way, I've got 70 nuclear weapons here and missiles. I didn't do it. Something, I mean, that's a real scenario, right? It already happened once. 10 years ago, the North Koreans used a silent submarine and sank the Chonan South Korean Navy vessel and killed like 50 sailors. Okay, so the European Union focuses on economic resources, which gives it some advantages as well as disadvantages, advantages and disadvantages, right? Even the European Union's advantages in focusing or being perceived to focus on economics are undermined by the fact that even the European Union, at least rhetorically, like I told you today, 10 hours ago, Valdis Dombrovskis, the European commissioner responsible for trade, said that he stated that the European Union has to consider its other strategic concerns with China. Now, how much economic cost they're willing to pay, or these are just rhetorical words coming out of his mouth today in Pittsburgh? What are they really willing to do? Are they going to put sanctions on China? I mean, China is Germany's biggest trade partner. I don't know, but they talk like our American alliance comes first, even though the Germans did not stop the Nord 2 gas pipeline, even though Joe Biden wanted the Germans to stop construction of the natural gas pipeline Nord Stream 2 from Germany. The Trump administration and then the Biden administration are complaining about this, and the Germans went ahead and did it anyway. It's being completed as I speak. So yeah, the Germans, they resist a little bit, but they're not willing. It'll be interesting to see what they're willing to do in terms of pay the economic cost of getting into a conflict with China, because the United States is pulling them into a conflict with China. So, this is our long class, and our last class to talk about the institutions, at least directly about the European Union institutions. So let me do another exercise and make sure that you can see it here. So stop share. We go here. And so here you see, here's how we can talk about the European Union institutions, how they go about making law, particularly when 80% of their law is still based upon governing the single market. And that often means coming up with common standards. And I think we covered this already in the previous class. I know we covered it, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But just to highlight again, this is the news report from the New York Times, which highlights that the European Union unveiled plans on Thursday, so last week, to make USB-C connectors the standard charging port for all smartphones, tablets, and other electronic devices sold across the bloc. An initiative that says will reduce environmental waste, but that is likely to hit Apple the hardest. So they point out in this news report that the European Commission makes the proposal. It has the formal right to make proposals for new laws, like we're going to require that all smartphones, tablets, and other electronic devices sold in the European Union have the same single one kind of recharge connector. Standard port as part of the single market of the European community. And of course, this is going to cost Apple a lot of money because Apple has its own port. I don't know if any of you have Apple products. I have an Apple product. I'm using a MacBook Pro right now. I like MacBook Pro. But I have a Samsung Android smartphone. Okay. The new legislation is likely coming into effect in 2024 because it first needs to be approved by the European Parliament. And also, but they don't mention it here, by the Council of Ministers. And the way this news report is highlighting it, that it's going to happen, even though it's going to cost Apple a lot of money because Apple is going to have to reconfigure its factories and its manufacturing, and it's going to cost them up to $1 billion. And Apple's complaining. They're saying that this is going to reduce competition. It's going to reduce creativity. They make the point that, European Commission wants to do this because there's too much waste. They make that point that European Union officials and lawmakers at the European Parliament have been advocating a common charger since 2009, so 12 years, when there were more than 30 charging options on the market, now down to 3. They have argued that fewer wires would be more convenient for users and better for the environment, as mobile phone chargers are responsible for 11,000 tons of electronic waste per year across the bloc, according to estimates by the European Commission. So that's the justification, to reduce waste and protect the environment. But Apple has also argued that if the European Union had imposed a common charger in 2009, it would have restricted innovation that led to the USB-C and Lightning connectors. In a statement, Apple said that although it welcomed the European Commission's commitment to protecting the environment, it favored a solution that left the device side of the charging interface open for innovation. So my question to you is, just to complete this exercise, is to do another vote on I lost the Cyber Campus. Where's the Cyber Campus? Go back to Cyber Campus, open up the Cyber Campus, close that, and then go to share, go back to share and share screen and Cyber Campus, and ask you to vote on this one. Do you think this will pass? Do you think the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers will approve the European Commission proposal for all mobile devices in the European Union to have one standard charger connector on those devices? Please vote, and you have 30 seconds. You can see it, right?
But do you also mean chargers for like phones, like Apple?
Yes, right? All mobile devices, phones, laptops, tablets, yes. One more vote, 5 seconds. I mean, the way that news report is covering it, they're implying it's pretty much a done deal. It's definitely going to happen. I mean, when you read the news report, I think I posted already on the website, which is interesting, you know. And that's a major consequence, not just for Europe, but for you and me. Maria's European, but I mean, for you Koreans, that means, if Apple makes that, reconfigures their products for Europe, they're not going to change it just for South Korea. The whole world will go to the USB-C connector. And that's the point made in the book, that whenever the European Union makes economic policy for the European Union market, the single market, is so big and so rich that it basically shapes the standards and the requirements for everyone else across the whole world, at least in the developed countries, in the rich countries like the United States and South Korea. And, the European Union has a free trade agreement with Japan. So Japan, their products will also go to USB-C because they want to sell their Japanese products in European Union, right? And that's true for anybody, China as well. Okay, so let's go to the debate because we have to make sure we do the debate. And the assignment was, the debate topic here is, to South Koreans, the president of the European Commission should be elected by the European Union citizens. And so I have you written down somewhere as to what your position was. And I think did I misplace that paper? I think I might have misplaced the paper where I had you listed. And yeah, here it is, I think. Okay, so we'll go back to the breakout rooms and assign you, recreate the rooms. And assign to room 1 is pro, rename is pro. And yes, and we will assign to pro. We will assign own tech. Where's own tech? Well, there's own tech and Maria. And we will assign to room 2 con the other 2 students, and open all the rooms, and please join your rooms. And you have just a couple minutes to prepare your statements for pro and con using your paragraphs. And please join your rooms. And I will also prepare a statement. And I have to decide if I'm pro or con. Owen Tech, UJE and Kang Tong-un, join con. Kang Tong-un, join con. UJE, join con, join the group. Kang Tong-un, join the group. Okay, so heads, the first person will speak, and it's tails, so the second person will speak. Owen Tech will speak first, but everybody will speak because there's only 4 people. And UJE will speak first for con. And going back to the cyber campus, and this is the, so I have to be pro or con, so I'm going to flip a coin. Heads, I'm pro. Tails, I'm con. And I'm con. And I'll write a statement.
Sir.
Yeah.
We were both more calm, but you sinus pro.
Oh, you changed your mind.
No, we didn't. No.
Hesitate. Right. So that's why I signed you to pro, to give somebody to be, but you really want to be in con, huh? Okay, I'll put you in con. So that means own tech. I'm going to be pro with you. Well, no, own tech. You're going to be in big combat. You're going to be the only pro speaker.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Me and Jay is pro.
Oh,
But yours.
okay. Well, I'm moving to pro. Okay. All right. Well, good.
Thank you.
I want to be. Okay. Where's own tech? Oh, okay. People join. Okay, people are leaving the groups. Good. Five seconds. Okay, own tech, please. Why don't you go ahead and speak first for pro? Why do you favor direct election of the European Union Commission president?
Actually, I was con. So I
Okay, UJE. Why do you favor direct election of the European Commission president? UJE. UJE, why do you support direct election of the European Commission president?
Sorry. I think the president of the European Commission should be elected by EU citizens. The reason I thought that was because the European Commission is led by a group of 27 commissions who function something like a cabinet for the EU system, taking collective responsibility for their decisions. In addition, committee members are nominated by their national government because they are usually determined by the prime minister or president. Also, I think people in the European Union should be elected because they know the most about the the system or method. So I thought that.
So you think that the European Commission president should be elected directly the way, for example, the president of South Korea is elected directly by a vote of all the voters? That the European Commission
Yes.
president would make, being directly elected would make the European Union stronger, would make the European Union more positive, more appealing to people, that European people would come to love the European Union more, would self-identify and become more European in their identity over time, if the people of Europe directly elected the president of the European Commission. You agree, yes?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, and Khan, that is Marie. Please speak, Marie.
Yeah, I kind of disagree.
You kind of disagree. Why do you kind of disagree?
Because there are way too many like member states to vote. There's way too much there's too much people to vote in general, and I think it's hard to yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to elect.
Well, they have elections in
president.
India, and there's 1.3 billion people in India. I mean, surely.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, but I think for being the president of the European Commission, it will be better to get elected by the what's it called?
European Parliament.
Yeah, instead of the citizens.
Oh, the Spitzenkandidaten system. You like the Spitzenkandidaten system, huh?
I don't like it, but I think it would be better.
What do you think? What do you think? Since UJE, you're the only one that is pro. What's wrong? Why don't you support? Why do you think the direct election of the president of the European Commission, the way South Koreans vote directly to elect Moon Jae-in, for example? Why do you think that is better than the Spitzenkandidaten system that the European Union used in the past, but not with most recently? UJE.
Excuse me, sir.
Why do you think directly electing the European Commission president is better than, say, the Spitzenkandidaten system? What are the benefits of directly electing Moon Jae-in? Why did the Koreans like to elect their president rather than let the Korean Assembly choose who is the top official in the Korean government? What are the benefits for Koreans of directly electing Moon Jae-in rather than allowing the prime minister to be the most powerful person in Korea?
Because they because they like him.
Yeah, I mean, they know who he is. If you got to go vote for that person, you got to know who that person is. I mean, who knew who Ursula von der Leyen was outside of Germany before she was chosen by the European Council to be president of the European Commission? Who knew who Jean-Claude Juncker was before he was chosen to be president of the European Commission? But if you go vote, everybody who votes, they're going to know, I know who Moon Jae-in is. I know who the president of the European Commission is because I had to vote in an election. So I think that Europe really, maybe I can understand a little bit better how this European Union has the right to tell me what to do because I participated in choosing the person to tell me what to do directly by voting. Okay, we're running out of time. Ken Tong-un, you were con. Why are you con?
Sorry, sir. I'm a pro, as I told you.
Oh, okay, you're pro. Why are you pro?
So I think the European citizens need to exercise their rights to vote. Also, I don't know why it's a controversial actually, but yeah, of course the election will cost a lot, but it's the only institutions of EU. So European citizens have to exercise their rights, I think.
Okay. They have to exercise their right if they want rights actively if they want to become Europeans rather than just Germans and Italians and French. Oh, Tech, you're con. Why are you con?
I objected because I thought it would be too expensive and time consuming to be elected by European Union citizens. There are about 450 million citizens in European Union, and it is too huge to have a straight line system, and there may be problems with population and economic in calculating voting rights to have an arterial system like the United States.
Okay. Well, I already addressed that, in terms of, the cost issue. I don't know, I was assigned to write con, so I wrote this. The European Union should not directly elect the president of the European Commission because the result will likely be that only citizens of big European Union member states will be elected as president of the European Commission. The Germans are likely going to vote overwhelmingly for a German, and there's 88 million Germans in Germany, right? For example, or citizens like France and Italy. That means a citizen of Estonia is never going to become president of the European Commission. A citizen of Ireland is never going to become president of the European Commission. A citizen of Belgium is never again going to become a member of the European Commission. Unless, if the European Union attempts to put in place special rules and procedures to equalize the candidates and candidacies from small and big EU countries, the system will be so complicated and so complex that it will be confusing. It will not reduce the perceived democratic deficit, the perceived separation between the people and the European Union, because there'll be such complicated limitations and rules to balance the big and small countries. So a better system is the Spitzenkandidaten system. That's a better system. Okay, but again, I was told to write con because the coin told me to. So I could have written pro too. So time is up. And so let's vote on the topic here. So and to wrap up our debate here. So so please vote, and you have 30 seconds. Oh, that's it. Okay. So 2 are pro and 2 are con. Split down the middle. I guess that's a good thing because obviously these are complicated topics, right? These are complicated issues. Okay, that's it for today. See you next week. Bye.